The person who started reading this sentence is dead. Physically, literally, not in some metaphorical sense about the old version of yourself. Your body is the crime scene, where evidence vanishes faster than forensics can document it. If they performed a molecular autopsy right now, the verdict would be clear. Almost nothing remains of the person you were 7 years ago. Let's start with the intestines. The epithelium, the inner lining through which you absorb nutrients, completely renews itself every 2 to 4 days. It's the fastest dying tissue in your body. In 7 years, it has been replaced at least 637 times. Red blood cells live 120 days. Then the spleen disposes of them like medical waste. The skin you're touching this screen with is 2 to 4 weeks old. Over your lifetime, you'll shed 18 kilograms of dead epidermis. The liver regenerates every 150 to 500 days. Even the skeleton, the seemingly most permanent structure, fully rebuilds itself in 10 years. The math is merciless. Most cells in your body have been replaced at least 25 times since the last time you were truly you. The ancient Greek historian Plutarch described the ship of the hero Theseus, which the Athenians kept in their harbor. Whenever a plank rotted, they replaced it with a new one. After 300 years, not a single original part remained. The question that's tormented philosophers for 2,000 years: is it still the Ship of Theseus? Your body poses the same question. Only the Athenians at least knew what they were doing. But there's a problem. Some parts of you never die. And that's what makes the question truly terrifying. Neurons in the cerebral cortex don't renew from the moment of your birth. This isn't a metaphor. A study by Bhardwaj, published in 2006 in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, confirmed it. The cells forming your thoughts right now were created when you took your first breath. They've witnessed every day of your life. They're the only witnesses who remember everything. But that's not the limit. The proteins in your eye's lens formed in your mother's womb. They're older than your first memory, older than your name, older than any version of your personality you can comprehend. It creates a body map by decay speed. Intestinal epithelium lives days, skin, weeks, liver, months, skeleton, years, neurons, never. Your body is Theseus's ship under constant repair, all at once, at different rates. Your intestines have cycled through 1,000 crews, while the captain's bridge, the brain's cortex, remains untouched since launch. It seems like the paradox is solved. If the brain doesn't renew, you remain yourself. Neurons preserve continuity. They're the eye that links the infant and the elder into one personality. But in 2018, Lodato's team published a study in Science that shatters this hope. DNA in your neurons accumulates up to 2,400 mutations over a lifetime. Each brain cell genetically drifts from its original. The neuron storing your memory of your first day of school now holds a different genetic code than it did then. Your brain isn't identical to itself. At the molecular level, even eternal cells die from within, slowly unnoticeably but irreversibly. Hold on. Even if neurons were perfectly stable, something changes every night while you sleep, and it destroys the very idea of a constant self. Every night, as you read this in bed, your brain commits mass murder. Tononi and Sorelli from the University of Wisconsin published a study in 2014 in the journal Neuron that upends our view of sleep. They found that up to 20% of synaptic connections between neurons are pruned in a single night. 20% every night. Synapses aren't just wires in a circuit. They're the physical substrate of your personality. Every memory, skill, habit exists as a pattern of synaptic connections. When you learn guitar, new synapses form. When you fall in love, old ones rewire. And every night, a fifth of this architecture is erased. Let's do the math. You have about 100 trillion synapses in your brain. 20% is 20 trillion connections per night. In a week, more synapses vanish than there are stars in the Milky Way. Question: who wakes up in the morning? You'll say the same person. You remember who you are. You recognize your face in the mirror. You know your loved ones' names. But here's what's strange. Conway showed in 1996 that the average memory lasts 7 years. After that, it doesn't fade. It becomes a different memory, a reconstruction. You don't remember the event. You remember the last time you recalled it. And that time was a memory of the previous one. And so on until nothing remains of the original but the plot. Your first love. A loved one's death. The day you realized who you wanted to be. All these anchors of personality are copies of copies of copies. Like a photo reshot on a phone 7 times in a row. Researchers tested this on patients with anterograde amnesia. Clive Waring, a British musicologist, who, after encephalitis, lives with a 7-second memory. Every few seconds, he wakes up, convinced he's just regained consciousness for the first time in years. He keeps a diary, hundreds of entries. 8,000, I'm finally awake. A minute later, 8,002, I really woke up. He crosses out every previous entry, deeming it false. But here's the paradox. Waring remembers loving his wife. He recognizes her every time. He remembers how to play piano. He sits down and performs complex pieces. Skills, emotions, personality, preserved. Memory isn't required for the self. Then what, if not cells? Not DNA, not synapses, not memories. The skeptic says, but I feel like the same person. That's exactly the problem. This feeling is evolution's most convincing illusion. In 2005, Daniel Kahneman, Nobel laureate in economics, conducted an experiment that will shatter your faith in the unity of consciousness. Patients undergo colonoscopy, an unpleasant procedure. A camera probes the intestines for 20 to 30 minutes. During it, subjects rate pain every 60 seconds on a scale of 0 to 10, in real time, objectively. Afterward, they're asked how painful it was overall, and that's where the madness begins. It turns out duration doesn't matter at all. A patient enduring 30 minutes at 6,010, rates it tolerable. One suffering 10 minutes at 8,010 calls it unbearable. Your memory ignores time. It focuses on two moments, peak pain and the end. Everything else is statistical noise. Kahneman called it the peak end rule. But the implications are more terrifying. You're not one person. You're a committee of two dictators who hate each other. The first is the experiencing self. It lives in the here and now. It feels every second of pain, every moment of joy. For it, duration matters because it lives every minute. The second is the remembering self. It constructs the story of your life. It decides what to archive. And it couldn't care less about the first one's opinion. That's why you return to a vacation that was objectively awful, but ended well. Why you endure toxic relationships where 90% is bad, but 10% is euphoric peak. The remembering self makes all decisions about the future. The experiencing self just serves the sentence. Kahneman tested further. Group A ended colonoscopy right after the painful peak. Group B got 3 extra minutes with the camera idle. Not painful, but uncomfortable. Objectively, Group B suffered longer. The experiencing self got more pain. But the remembering self recalled a softer ending. 6 months later, Group B was asked, "Would you repeat the procedure?" Positive responses were twice as high as in Group A. Your memory lies to you about your own life, systematically, predictably. The skeptic says, "But isn't memory me? Without it, I'm a vegetable like Waring." Except Clive Waring isn't a vegetable. He retained personality, love for his wife, sense of humor, musical taste, moral principles. Everything that makes a human human, except the ability to remember facts. He lost his autobiography, but not the author. So memory isn't the foundation of identity, it's just a library. You can burn all the books. The building still stands. Then what? If not dying cells, not mutating DNA, not vanishing synapses every night, not memories rewritten every 7 years. What remains? Philosophers have wrestled with this for 2,000 years. Descartes proposed the soul. Locke, continuity of consciousness. Hume denied the self existed, calling it a bundle of perceptions. But in 1984, a solution emerged. Elegant, logical, experimentally confirmed, and worse than the problem itself. Derek Parfit, Oxford philosopher. The man who pushed Theseus's ship paradox to its logical and horrifying extreme. Imagine, you step into a teleporter. It scans every atom of your body, all 100 trillion cells, every synaptic connection, every DNA molecule with its 2,400 mutations. It transmits the data to Mars. There, another machine rebuilds you atom by atom, a perfect copy. Parfit's question is simple. Is it still you? The copy is physically indistinguishable from the original. It has the same memories, including entering the teleporter, the same scars, the same voice. It wakes on Mars, utterly convinced it's you. Most people say, yes, of course, that's me. Then Parfit complicates it. What if the scanner malfunctions? Instead of destroying the original, it just creates the copy. Now there are two of you, one on Earth, one on Mars, both with identical memories, both certain they're real. Which one is you? Intuition screams, the original, the one who entered the teleporter. But wait, a second ago, you said the Mars copy is you too. You can't change your answer just because the original survived. Parfit goes further. Imagine, tomorrow, scientists kill the Earth version. Do you die? From the Mars copy's perspective, no. It keeps living, loving, working, remembering this conversation. To everyone around, you survived. But you, the Earth version, stand before the teleporter, knowing you'll be destroyed in a minute. Can you comfort yourself? It's okay. My copy will live on? Thomas Nagel, critiquing Parfit, wrote, "It's like telling a man sentenced to death, don't worry, you have an identical twin." Parfit's solution is radical. The question, is it me, is grammatically correct, but philosophically meaningless. Like asking, is this ship real? Reality isn't a property of the object. It's our concept. Only psychological continuity matters. The degree of connection between your versions. And that connection isn't binary. You're not alive or dead. You can survive at 70%, at 30%, at 5%. Identity isn't a fact. It's a gradient. But if Parfit is right, cellular regeneration is just a slow teleporter. Every second, millions of cells die. New ones are born. Every night, trillions of synapses are pruned. Every 7 years, nearly the whole body is replaced. You're going through Parfit's teleporter right now, just too slowly to hear the guillotines click. 12,500 years ago, a man named Siddhartha Gautama sat under a tree, trying to understand why existence is suffering. He reached a conclusion that Western philosophy rediscovered over the next 25 centuries. There is no permanent self. The concept is called anatta, no self. Personality isn't an object, it's a process. The Sanskrit term santana means stream, continuous change masquerading as stability. Buddhists used the candle flame metaphor. Is the flame after an hour the same? Physically, no. Every wax molecule has burned and been replaced. But the fire didn't break. It's continuous, yet not identical. A process, not an object. You are that flame. Modern neuroscience reached the same conclusion, just with fMRIs instead of meditation. Thomas Metzinger, German philosopher and neuroscientist, published The Ego Tunnel in 2009. Core thesis: there's no center of consciousness in the brain, no region that holds yourself. Consciousness is a pattern of activity, a distributed process, a verb pretending to be a noun. You don't exist as a thing, you occur. And this explains the regeneration paradox. Theseus's ship is unsolvable because we seek an object, the real ship. But a ship isn't planks, it's a function. Sailing, a journey from Crete to Athens. As long as the function persists, the ship exists. Even if every plank is replaced, you're not cells, you're the pattern those cells temporarily sustain. But then a question arises that's worse than all the previous ones. If you're a process, not an object, what happens when the process changes? A person after a stroke, after dementia, after traumatic brain injury, the pattern is disrupted. Personality radically altered. Relatives say, "That's not him anymore." And they're right, literally. But then every major change is a partial death. Divorce, job loss, moving to another country, religious conversion, recovery from addiction. You mourn the old version of yourself because it really died. The body just kept walking. Evolution created the illusion of permanence because it's useful. An animal doubting its own existence every second won't reproduce. Your certainty that you're you is an adaptation, not truth. But the illusion is so perfect that exposing it doesn't shatter it. Right now, you know you don't exist as a permanent object. And yet you feel the opposite. This isn't perceptual error. It's the architecture of consciousness. You're a story the nervous system tells itself. A narrative continuously rewritten. Every memory, an addition. Every decision, a new chapter. And every 7 years, the book is reprinted from scratch. But there's a consequence to this understanding that changes the ethics of existence itself. If you die every 7 years, the person living in your body a decade from now isn't you. It's someone else with different cells, different synapses, different memories of today. And suddenly, all ethics flips. Parfit showed, if future you is another person, caring for them stops being egoism. It's altruism. You're caring for a stranger you'll become. When you smoke, you're not committing suicide. You're killing the person who'll open their eyes in 2035. They'll think they're you, but you won't be there. When you save for retirement, you're sacrificing yourself for a stranger. A noble act, not pragmatic calculation. Sounds absurd? Then explain why you already mourn dead versions of yourself. You look at a photo of yourself at 20 and feel loss. That person is gone. Their cells decayed, their thoughts forgotten, their dreams buried under layers of new disappointments. A photo album is a graveyard. Each snapshot, a tombstone for a version that believed it would live forever. You say, "I've changed." No, you died. No one noticed because the corpse kept moving. And this changes forgiveness. The person who betrayed you 10 years ago is physically dead. Their neurons decayed. Their excuses forgotten by themselves. The one standing before you now bears their name, but not their guilt. Responsibility remains. Consequences, too. But guilt becomes an anachronism. You're angry at a ghost. The same with yourself. The mistake you made in 2015 was made by a corpse. You bear its consequences, but not its sin, because the sinner has crumbled to dust. Every morning, reincarnation. Every year, a new life. And Theseus's ship paradox stops being a paradox when you realize the question was wrong. A ship isn't planks. It's the voyage. You're not cells, not synapses, not memories. You're the trajectory, the process, the story the body tells itself until it falls silent forever. And every 7 years, a new chapter begins. The person who finishes reading this sentence won't be the one who started it. Welcome to your first resurrection. And last warning, in 7 years, you'll read this text again and won't recognize yourself in the one reading it now, because they won't exist anymore.